Abzan, Sideboarding.com. Me, as usually, are at Burza, and that's time for Modern. Continuing our preparations for Grand Prix Copenhagen. On the left side of the screen is Grixis Delva, probably one of my new favorite decks of the format, and on the right side is my build of Abzan Company, the Anafen Milara Things combo, which I'm probably gonna take to most major premiere events in the coming couple of months or so. But I really like to play with Grixis Delva, and it's gonna go to my teammates for premiere events for him. So playtesting times is one of the only times when I get to play Grixis Delva on paper. Right, and about the sounds, I decided to go with a slightly less quiet mode instead of a very loud audio, because I would prefer that over having a lot of background noise and a lot of glitches and stuff like that. So I'd rather have a bit quieter but cleaner sound. So the Abzan Company deck started the game with a Razorverse Figure and a Birds of Paradise on turn 1. Pretty much ideal start, no pain from the lands and a mana dork. I just laid down a Blastemar and that's it. So preparing to fetch for Shocklands and bolts something. I know, I actually don't think I had a bolt, but it's fine to represent a bolt. I think in my hand there was just a foot scour. So he started off by playing a Noble Gerarch and fetching. I decided to spare some time and fetch as well in response. With an untapped Steam Vents, that meant that I'm still representing a bolt for a 2-drop if needed. But actually there was just a foot scour in my hand. So he goes for Wall of Roots. That's actually a lot of mana dorks, and that's actually a pretty nice draw from him, I think. But the deck only plays 4 birds, of course, 1 noble and 2 walls. I like that configuration probably the most. I do like the wall, and I didn't want to be only on birds and walls, so I kept 1 noble. Foot card on the turn, milling some goodies. Then during my turn I drew the bolt, bolted the noble, and then was able to delve for a Murderous Cut to kill the bird. The plan here was to cut him off a second white so that he cannot cast things like Unoffensive and stuff like that. Probably wasn't the best line of play, but it could potentially color screw him a bit. But he did have a Godless Shrine, but not much action beyond that, so that was a bit suspicious, because with a wall and that many lands he could cast basically anything. So that should be a hint to you that he probably just had a bunch of Corzu Calling in his hand, or just no action and just lands in mana dorks, which is kinda possible, but I don't know. I probably would have kept that kind of hand if I were him, because if you draw that many mana dorks. Okay, I first card on the turn, milling the bolt in the fetch, I'm drawing some gas, I think. Meanwhile, I had Steam Vents, Watergriff that I got last turn, and this turn that was just Darkslick Shores. Bear in mind that this Delver list is not completely tuned. We took some random stock list from the web, from Magic Online, but I think that few changes could be made. Like a friend of mine who is playing the deck the same day against Affinity, we got that recorded too. So he was complaining that maybe there were a little bit too many Delve spells, and those mean Murderous, Catastigor, and Grimmer Angler. Here I just casted Probe for mana and saw Witness and the DK, which is kind of good news for me because he didn't really have anything awesome to bring back with Witness. DK doesn't really count because I'm the control deck in this matchup, so I was really happy to see that hand. Though my hand was way too reactive and also not very proactive. Then he drew kind of some action in the form of Cartel Aristocrat. My build plays actually 4 sack outlets, like 2 Seers, 1 Cartel and 1 Barrels. So maximizing that aspect of the deck. With him having those Monodarks in play in addition to Cartel was kinda bad. But I knew his hand, so I opted for shocking the Bob and making him discard a card. He pitched DK, and since he decided not to hold on the Witness and not cast it for just some random value, it was pretty good because I was planning to Colohan's command him again. So back to the Delve spells in Grixis. I think the fine configuration is 2 English, 2 Tassigurs, and maybe replacing second cut in the deck with 1 of Terminate, which is I think totally fine. The upside is that cut kills pro-red creatures, but that's not a very common occasion. So second Colgan's commands, choosing to basically make him sacrifice that wall to save his Cartel and make him also discard a card, so getting rid of the Witness as well. So I think that was a pretty fine deal for me. And the wall in play would enable him to block my big guys, and having a Witness gone is also a nice addition. So I had to quickly explain to him that like it made no sense to just not save the Cartel here. Attacking with Cartel, that's fine. I'm going down to 11, he's still at 19. Because most of his lands came into play tapped and didn't do any damage. And then he played a card which I didn't really want to see in there. One of the reasons why one of Anger of the Gods in the deck is not that bad, though something like Magma Spray could be simply better, because you can always snap it, and it's not like you have to actually get rid of everything on board. And for example, when you're playing against elves, you don't necessarily have to wipe the whole board. And Magma Spray makes you really mana efficient, so I'm not sure. So I decided to go for Bolliver Cartel, even though he would be able to bring back things after protecting the Cartel, but that breaks up a combo, and I think he was Hellbent, so that prevented me from dealing with a Lucky Company or Cord, or just top decked Milaro or an Offensa. At least that gave me a chance. So attacking again, I had to take it. I was almost hellbent myself, kind of, because I just had garbage in my hand, and before I drew, I decided to fetch so that I would have a slightly better chance of decking some gas. Something like a Snapcaster would be pretty good here, giving me a blocker and flashbacking some removal spell, so really needed to hit something like that. So yeah, we were both flooding quite a bit, although I was flooding like hell, and Grixis plays way less lands than Abzan, so that was really ridiculous here. I really do like the Angler in this deck for some reason more than Tassigur, because being a 5/5 over 4/5 is so big right now. In format with Tarmogoyfs and Rhinos and opposing Tassigurs, so that you don't actually have to spend a Kolaghan's Command or Electrolyze or Bolts to finish off the opponent's guy. So he did draw on Offenza, which I had to remand so that I could actually draw into anything. And I was actually very pleased that he decided to cast a spell before doing anything, because if he would just attack, then he would put me to the test. Though he had enough white mana to just replay the Anafanza. And I just show him a Vapor Snack and the Young Pyromancer. And I think I drew Pyromancer from that remand. So that's the game 1 for you. Better not super tight, not super exciting, but still some peculiar moments. So I think the right number of Del spells would be 1 card and 1 Terminate, substituting the second cut, and then 2 Tassigurs and 2 Anglers. I like that more than 3 Tassigurs and 1 Angler. And as for the Abzan Company deck, I've basically described everything related to it in an article about a week ago or something like that, yeah. So you could check that out through the link in the description to the video. My turn to start, just an Island and the Delva. Nothing obscene. Razor Ridge figured into birds. Also a nice start from him. My Delver did flip off of Serum Visions, so things are looking good here for me for now. See damage off of Steam Vents and Bash for free, he's down to 17. Keeping mana up for counters. He's starting with a voice, which I'm very pleased to remand. Though that voice I think is gonna still bite me pretty hard in this game. So attacking with the Delva, he goes to 14. Serum Visions, digging for maybe more counters or things like bolts and stuff to be able to slow him down. So yeah, I got a bolt for his bird so that he wouldn't be able to once again cast spells with double white or black. He got a swamp, but that still means that he probably cannot play 2 spells here and just 1. And I can hopefully later just burn that away. Fruit's a nice draw for him. A blocker for any of my ground guys in the future, and enables him straight ahead just to cast Voice, and also makes any of his chords really good. Attacking him again with Delver down to 11, so hoping to take this fly all the distance, milling. Well, here's the fun thing. I kept, I think, 2 lands from the Serum Visions from the Scribe, because I knew I would most likely cast Footcower on my turn, so I was fine milling that. That meant that I would kind of clean my deck and potentially have better top decks this way. Not much interaction so in my hand, so I decided to Footcower once again. Plus I also wanted the 3rd lens, and I drew it off that 2nd Footcower. That allowed me to cast Tasigur to basically slow him down in terms of attacks. And maybe try to pressure even more on my next turn. It's often pretty tough to decide what to delve in this deck because of the Tassigur's ability, of course, and because of the Snapcasters. So you really need to know your matchups more or less, so that you actually can know what are the cards that you most likely will need. So yeah, after this matchup there would be also Grixis Delver versus Affinity coming up, and then some funsies for standards mono-green aggro with aspects of the Hydra and all the other goodies against Jeskai Heroic. So that's what's coming up after these videos. I hope I can upload them sometime during this week. It's also my birthday tomorrow, thank you very much indeed. So what he did was cast a Spellskite here, well, which was probably not super good here, but depending on his next draws, that could be very useful. Okay. Yeah, walls don't really tap for mana, they just make mana. So Milari here, right? Well, nothing absolutely crazy yet, but then if I don't have a counter for next turn, and here is also like a collected company, then I could be in a lot of trouble, because he has already Spellskite out and Voice out. I could have probably attacked with the Tasigur here as well, but because I was hoping for the fly to get me through the distance, I decided not to attack. He would most likely just attack back for 4, which wasn't too bad. So I think that was a bit of a mistake here, because he wouldn't be able to trade for my Tasigur anyway. Yeah. So perhaps I should have attacked here. But the odds are that he would just jump with the Voice, I think, and get a 4/4 elemental token. So I'm not sure what I prefer here, but Voice was actually crumbling me a little bit as well. So if he would actually jump with it, I suppose it wouldn't be too bad for me, because then I would be able to cast a bunch of spells without him getting a bunch of elementals. So I don't know. As far as I remember, my hand wasn't super amazing here. And I even had a thing like a monolith in my hand. Cartel from him, so 2 parts out of 3 parts of the combo. I really had to think here. I think I had a monolith in my hand, for which he wouldn't be able to pay, because he had only 2 mana up with the wall. But I would be giving him a token. Yeah, so as you see, it probably was better to attack with the Tessiger last turn to pressure him down even more. And now I'm in such an awkward spot here, because I would kind of want to counter the Cartel here while he cannot pay for Manalik, but that gives him an elemental token, and if something happens to the Delva, where he gets to get more life somehow via kitchen things and stuff like that, so I don't know. I suppose you can tell me later how bad of a mistake it was. Probably bad enough. For some reason I decide to let the cartel resolve and cut the cut the spell kites, because I think I had another bolt in my hand and a snapcaster, so I think that was my plan. Or no, if I would have had that, then he would be dead for sure. So I was hoping to get my turn back, but nope. He was trying to calculate the mana for to pay for the quarter calling. So how many things to tap for Convoke? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. So that's quite for free, which is what he needs. Decides to keep up the aristocrat court for free. He was too hasty and already trying to look at cards, but in this situation, if I don't do anything in response to court, I just die. So I hold him up and cast a Vapor Snag on one of these guys to break up the combo. Otherwise I just die. So he gets another token. That's alright. Well, it's not really alright, but I'm not yet dead. But I cannot counter cord, so he would still get a kitchen things and gain the 2 life. And I decided to bounce the cartel. I think, oh no, I decided to bounce the Milano, because if I target the cartel, he just sacrifices a token and makes it pro blue, and then he still kills me. So decided to bounce Milira, and still not looking good. So he took 1 from Vapor Snake, going down to 7, but he would gain 2 from the cord, and that wasn't really a nice scenario for me. He's at 9, attacking with a Delva pushes him down to 6. But he's essentially at 11, because at worst he can sacrifice the fangs and get 2 more alive. In response to that, maybe I can do something crazy, but I didn't really have those things. So I would really need like bolt snap bolt here. And that's a clear signal that I don't have it, since I fetched just another island with a scalding turn. Oh well, sure. So it doesn't seem like there was any good line for me here. If I had a bolt snap, then sure. And now it was all about just trying not to die super quickly. Because if I would have attacked that turn with the Tassiger, he would have just 1 token here and wouldn't be able to produce any more of them. But here I'm faced against those gigantic creatures which are laughing at the Tassiger. Castamelara, that means, well, I bounced it last turn. And there is nothing really I could do here, since I didn't really draw anything. So that's the kind of situation where having a deprive would be very important. So I didn't have a snap in hand, right? So I could have snapballed him. But even if I would have had the deprive here, he had an offensa in hand, which meant that he would just go off anyway. So that's one of the benefits of playing a lot of combo pieces, as you can see, because he has so many of them. That meant if I deal with like 1 or 2, he still eventually goes off, and then I can't do anything about that. So on to sideboarding after this. There we go. So the obvious thing was to bring in Ors of Pontiff, Fotsif, and the Tideholic Color. I was just trying out one Tideholic Color, didn't get to really see how it goes, and then I saw that yeah, in the white paper meta game, actually Fotsif is better. So I'm taking out 1 Vapor Snack, 1 of Pyromancer, and something else. He would bring in 1 Burnt on Forge Standard for any of my red removal and anger, and then also 2 Core Firewalkers. I would take out 1 of 4 Detection Probe. He would probably take out Barrels, because it's kinda slow in this deck, although I'm not sure. It might be correct to just keep it, because if you have a solid hand with a lot of creatures, then against that deck it becomes really hard to deal with cards. There is no path in Grixis, so you can't really exile it outside of anger, which is not gonna work. Taking Kolgan's Command, they're not really that spectacular in this matchup, although I'm not sure. Well, because I wasn't sure, I was taking out just 1, bringing in Blood Moons, 1 Anger, Electromancer, and a couple of Flash Freezes, I think. And for us to make it 6 and 6, I took out one remand because remand is kind of bad, but I still wanted to have one because we're still playing Delver and Pyromancer and stuff, so we can play a tempo game. So remand is not totally bad, but I could see taking out both remands. And Monolith is better because they don't get their to play their card again. So he's probably taking out DKs, although I'm not sure about that. But thing that he would take out for sure would be one Collected Company and one Chord of Calling, because they're pretty slow, and if I kill all of his mana dorks and stuff, then he's short on mana and can't really cast any of those. So he would bring in essentially 7 cards and then take out one card, one company, one on offense and one Elara, so something like that. Probably taking out Cartel is better before Varels here. So that's about the cyber plan, and actually bringing in Linvala in this matchup is good. Linvala as a 4 toughness flyer blocks the flipped Delver, blocks on all the ground guys. It switches off the Staticaster and Tasigur, which is a nice bonus, and also a flyer, making it with bolster triggers and Gavany Township, so it makes a nice bitter. So there is that. So you definitely, in terms of my build, bring in those cards. And actually I talked him into not bringing in Thoughtseize because I'm not a combo deck and not a super controllish deck, unlike some blue-eyed red mid-range lists. So Thoughtseize is actually not super amazing against me. He was thinking of taking out like one voice, but that's like the worst idea ever. Yeah. Of course, I would have much more experience with the Collecting Company deck, but I so wanted to play more Delver on paper, and that's I gave him the company deck. And even though it's kind of complicated, but the Delver deck actually has also plenty of decisions to make and a lot of lines of play. The cards I brought in were definitely correct, but the cards I took out, maybe there is some variation. Maybe it is correct to take out maybe one more probe. No, take out one more remand and keep in like second command, or keep in one of the cantrips, I don't know. Because the main deck plays so many combo pieces, so it's totally fine to dilute the combo package a little bit. And then because of Staticaster, all those bolts and commands and electrolyze and whatnot, it's fine to take out one noble here because you still have birds, even though that makes you a little bit weaker to Blood Moon because you don't have those cool mana dorks, but it's alright. Right, folks, that's about it for as of right now. The post sideboarded games will follow suit very shortly, and I'll leave you here. So thanks for watching, guys. Boat Brew signing off. Goodbye until the next sale.